All right, let's dive into one of the greatest astronomical detective stories of all time. We're talking about the case of a phantom planet, a ghost that was haunting the edges of our solar system for decades and kicked off one of the biggest planet hunts in history.
For the better part of a century, astronomers were absolutely convinced the answer to this was yes. They believed some huge unseen world was out there tugging on the other planets from the darkness. And finding this mysterious object, well, that became a full-blown obsession.
So, this phantom was given a name, Planet X. And that's X not as in the number 10, but X like the unknown variable in a math equation. It was this mysterious force that astronomers were sure had to exist just to make all their calculations of the solar system finally add up. And here's the key thing. Astronomers weren't just taking a wild guess. They thought they had cold, hard evidence. You see, the giant planets, Uranus and Neptune, they weren't moving exactly like the laws of gravity said they should. Something was pulling on them, and the only suspect that made any sense was another massive hidden planet. But what's so fascinating here is that this wasn't even the first time astronomers had run into this exact puzzle. In fact, they had already solved a nearly identical mystery once before, and that incredible success is what gave them all the confidence they needed to go searching for Planet X. Just look at this timeline. It shows you exactly how it all went down. After Uranus was discovered, astronomers pretty quickly noticed it wasn't sticking to the path Newton's laws predicted. Now, instead of doubting Newton, and you didn't do that, a few mathematicians had a bold idea. There must be another planet out there pulling on it. So in 1846, they calculated where it should be, told an astronomer named Johann Galle where to look, and bam, he found Neptune practically overnight. It was just this stunning victory for predictive math. And this slide just illustrates that clue perfectly. On one side, you've got the path that all the math said Uranus should follow. On the other, you have where it actually was. That tiny little difference, that wobble, was the gravitational fingerprint of Neptune, a planet nobody had ever even seen. So you can see the logic, right? When astronomers started tracking the brand new planet Neptune and saw that it too seemed to have a little wobble in its orbit, well, the conclusion was pretty obvious. There must be another planet out there, a ninth planet. The hunt for Planet X was officially on. This is where our lead detective enters the story, Percival Lowell. He was this wealthy, incredibly passionate amateur astronomer who became completely and totally obsessed with finding this new world. He didn't just search for it, he built an entire world-class observatory just to do it.
Lowell had the money, he had the vision. He built his observatory high up on a dry mountain in Arizona, the perfect place to see the stars. He set up this massive, systematic photographic survey, and then he hired a young farm boy named Clyde Tombaugh to do the incredibly tedious work of scanning the skies.
So how do you even find a planet this way? Well, it is an absolute grind. Tombaugh would take a picture of a patch of sky, then another picture of the exact same patch a few nights later. Then he'd use this special machine to flip back and forth between the two images. Stars don't move, right? But a planet, which is way closer, will look like it jumped. Your job is to find that one single moving dot among hundreds of thousands of others. And then, after years of this painstaking search, it happened. They found it. The world went nuts celebrating the discovery of the ninth planet. The case seemed to be closed, but as the evidence started trickling in, a few things just didn't feel right. In 1930, the big announcement was made. Planet X had been discovered. Clyde Tombaugh had found his little moving dot of light. The planet would soon be named Pluto, and for decades it was held up as the triumphant end to Lowell's great planet hunt. Tombaugh, who actually lived well into the 1990s, had a great sense of humor about the whole thing. Whenever people asked him how he managed to spot it, he'd joke, "Oh, I looked up in the sky and there was an arrow pointing to it." You can just feel the relief after such a long, hard search.
But here was the problem, and it was a big one. For Planet X to be the culprit pulling on Neptune, it had to be a gravitational heavyweight. But as astronomers learned more about Pluto, they realized it was a lightweight. It was tiny. A small, icy world with nowhere near enough mass. There was just no way this little dirty ice ball could be bullying a monster planet like Neptune.
And just like that, the entire case was blown wide open again. If Pluto wasn't the one, then the real Planet X was still out there somewhere. The original mystery was back. What on earth was causing Neptune's orbit to wobble?
And the answer, my friends, would be a plot twist worthy of a Hollywood movie. Because in science, sometimes the biggest discoveries aren't about what you find, but what you realize was never even there to begin with.
That's right. That mysterious force pulling on Neptune, the great planet X, it didn't exist. There was nothing out there. The whole mystery, the decades-long hunt, was all based on a mistake.
So, how did they figure this out? Well, a researcher named Miles Standish decided to go back and look at the original observations of Neptune from way back in the 1800s. And he found that data from one specific observatory was just a little bit off, probably because the telescope's gearbox had been serviced but wasn't recalibrated just right. So when Standish took out that one stream of faulty data and ran the numbers again, Neptune's mysterious wobble completely vanished. The planet was exactly where it was supposed to be all along.
And just like that, poof, the ghost in the solar system was gone. It was never a planet. It was an illusion created by tiny, faulty measurements. Percival Lowell had launched the greatest planet hunt in history to find a world that simply wasn't there.
Now, I know what some of you are probably thinking. You've heard people talking about a planet X or a planet 9 today, and it's really important to understand that this is a completely different case, based on totally new evidence.
So let's be super clear. The historical Planet X case? It's solved. It's closed. It was just bad data. Today's search for a Planet 9 is based on something completely different. The weird clustered orbits of a few tiny objects way, way out beyond Neptune. It's a brand new mystery. And believe it or not, the hunt is on all over again. But you know, the original search for Planet X wasn't a failure. As one writer put it, this story is really a centerpiece to a much larger story about the plight of science on the frontier. It's just a perfect example of what it's like when you're working right at the edge of what we know, where you never know if a weird result is a huge discovery or just a tiny mistake in your data.
I mean, think about it. Pluto was discovered by pure, dumb luck, while astronomers were busy chasing a ghost. This strange case of Planet X is this incredible reminder that science isn't just about finding the right answers. It's about relentlessly checking your work, questioning your assumptions, and sometimes having the courage to find out that the biggest mystery of all was one you accidentally created yourself.